Keeping an eye on shares of Warner Brothers and Paramount and Netflix. Why? Well, we do have the latest chapter, and as we call it, the saga, of course, as Paramount and Netflix continue to vie for ownership of the company that is Warner Brothers Discovery. Netflix still has the deal, and in fact, interestingly, Warner Brothers board did not say that Paramount's enhanced offer that we got a week ago, where they seemingly answered many of the concerns the Warner Brothers board had around their deal, they did not say it was likely to lead to a superior proposal. But they did get Netflix to say, we'll give you a waiver that lets you talk to Paramount for 7 days. And we are now in that 7 days. It is beginning. A advisor for Paramount has reached out to a board member of Warner Brothers indicating, hey, if you actively engage with us, we can tell you we'll start at 31, and we may not be done there if we can actually get to a deal. Now, it's not just about price. It continues to be about other concerns that the Warner Brothers board has, though many of them seemingly were dealt with in that enhanced offer from Paramount, where they made it clear they'll pay the $2.8 billion breakup fee, where they talked about the bridge financing and their willingness to replace it, and a number of other important things. That said, in their press release this morning announcing this waiver and the talks that conceivably will follow, Warner Brothers did make it clear that while there were things in the Paramount press release that they said they were doing, they did not show up in the merger agreement that sort of was offered. They would like them to basically copy a lot of the things that Netflix has. What I'm hearing from the Paramount camp is when it comes to like operating agreement, interim operating agreements, those are things that need to be negotiated. A lot of other things may need to be negotiated during this period, and we'll see whether they can get there. The main sticking point perhaps being the overall structure of Paramount's deal, which is requiring an enormous amount of debt and equity, but $54 billion in debt, $43 billion in equity to get done. It's the LBO structure, given how much debt Paramount already has as well, that perhaps gives the Warner Brothers board pause. Will they ask for something to cure that in some way? They're not going to guarantee the debt, obviously, but this idea that when you get near the finish line, will Paramount be in the financial condition it currently is, or will it be in much worse condition and therefore want somehow to not close the deal? That seems to be central to some of the concerns. And we'll see, but we've got a 7-day window now. We've got a date of the 20th of March for the shareholder vote from Warner Brothers shareholders, yes or no, on whatever deal they're presented with. And by the way, right now that's a Netflix deal. It may not be. We also, of course, have matching rights that Netflix has. Should Warner Brothers say, yes, Paramount, we do think this is a superior offer, they go back to Netflix first and give them the opportunity to match in some way. It may not even be price or other things they may be able to adjust and do that represent a higher value.
That's what I was going to ask. Analysts were reacting to this news this morning. Gordon Haskett, media analyst, saying Netflix needs a field goal to win. From your vantage point, what would that look like, David?
It's unclear to me because, again, I don't know what, if anything, will be done during this week. I think the expectation, at least among some of the Paramount camp, is that they will negotiate in good faith with the board and come to an agreement where you get at least, let's call it 32 or perhaps even more. And then the question will be, what does Netflix come back with? But it doesn't necessarily have to be just a pure price higher. Very well could be, if they want to choose to compete here. It could be, some have thrown out the idea that I've talked to of a contingent value right, because so much of this has to go back to, and I know it gets complicated, to the value of the spun-off entity in the Netflix deal, namely the cable networks of Warner Brothers Discovery, and what they'll be worth. Given how much debt they may have on them, they may be worth very little. And so is there something Netflix can do there to guarantee value? A so-called contingent value right. Again, these are things that people come up with as they try and think about things Netflix might do, but one of the key questions is whether they'll do anything. Their stock is down substantially since they announced the deal, and they have consistently said, while this is a nice-to-have asset, it is not a must-have.
Netflix saying foreign funding is behind Paramount's latest bid, and they're voicing that this could be a national security concern. But they've been saying that for a while.
They have. Both sides will continue to go back and forth. You're right. That is, again, now there is a lot of Mideast money there. That said, they don't have any governance rights in the overall company, but that certainly may be a concern. Paramount would come back with and say, hey, you're not going to get any trust approval. Simple as that. Their camp continuing to believe that at some point there will be a Section 2 investigations under the Sherman Act saying it's a monopoly and you're never going to get antitrust approval in the United States. So both sides will go back and forth, creating certainly concerns around the respective deals. question's going to be, Carl, what the board decides to do over this next week in terms of how actively they engage and where they get to.
Right. Meantime, I was just doing the math on the drawdown for Netflix from the highs. That's like almost 45%. Getting there. It's been in
From
the 30
highs,
range,
right?
yeah.
And
yeah.
almost 25%. Well, you can see right there, about 26% since they announced the deal itself. So yeah, they have lost an enormous amount of market cap, far more than they're paying in cash at $27.75 a share for Warner Brothers. Remember, it's just the streaming and studio business that they are buying.
We'll watch it. Getting more interesting, though, and now we have some shorter-term deadlines to keep us busy.
We do,
yeah.
and we'll keep an eye on our parent company as well, Versant, which is back to flat on the day, but figures into this because, of course, of the multiple that Paramount says you need to use to apply to the Discovery Global businesses. Obviously, also disagreement around that as well, in terms of whether that is deserving of those businesses. By the way, Paramount's got a lot of cable networks also that conceivably are not in a great place. Is anybody, MTV, people watching that these days? Nickelodeon, I don't know. I don't know. Nickelodeon, little kids watch that anymore?
We're still under 2.
Cartoon?
Right.
Yeah. Cartoon Network?
Cartoon, yeah. I don't.
Not yet.
Not
They're
exactly.
under 2, no cartoon.
No,
TV.
just not looking great for their, their entertainment networks, but they do own CBS, as we know, of course.
Yes.